So you've seen the new update in GTA and you want to be good at drifting. The problem is, although drifting is sorted into regular racing for score, it brings a completely new dynamic to the job. Throw what you know about racing, having the faster car isn't going to get you the win. There's not solid fastest times like other car testing, and the majority of any scoring I give you on this video will be based more on your ability than the vehicle you choose. But choosing a vehicle that makes it easier for you to build those points will make a difference. So we're going to list the 8 cars from the hardest to drift to the easiest, and you let us know your results in the comments below. If you want to understand more on how to win, check out the video on how to win drift events. The first up is the Drift Yosemite, and what can I say about the Yosemite? For one, it's very heavy for a truck, but what it truly fails at is its ability to rotate. To keep it sideways, you'll need to keep your foot in the pedal where it muscles itself around and then immediately tries to straighten out. When you get into S-curves, this is going to be a massive pain. It's also a big, long truck, so accidentally tapping signs or walls is a common occurrence. This will take a ton of skill to master, and it's probably not worth the effort. The FR36 is the poster child of the Chop Shop DLC, and although it suffers from weight and length issues of the Yosemite, it's much more competent in its drifting ability. You'll find it rotates and holds those drifts longer, and it's a little bit more stable. The problem will still be that the long wheelbase that makes tight drifting difficult and small spaces tough. Although it's top of its game in the grip scene, in the drift area it usually takes itself out on technicalities. Let's be straight, the Remus is a true drift car. With good skill level, you can hold drifts for days, change drifts together, and it's so much fun to drive. It rotates just right about how a drift car should. And what makes it the best also unfortunately makes it one of the worst for newer players. You need to know what you're doing before you take the wheel of the Remus, and you need to be 3 drifts ahead, and because it holds a shallower angle, that usually hurts it on its points in the long run. But it is still worth becoming proficient at, and it's still a vehicle that I highly recommend. The Drift Tampa is made for this. It's even in the name. The Drift Tampa will rotate on command and sling itself around in circles without a problem whatsoever to keep that drift going. It feels like it simply throws horsepower at the drifting though, so keep the foot in the throttle, which will be a big part of its performance. It's still a big vehicle though, and this will take a little practice to get used to, and sometimes it gets knocked out from taking those tight areas. Still, as a drift vehicle though, it's very good at what it does. The ZR350 is the perfect middle ground. It has solid drifting ability. It isn't that big. It doesn't make it hard to hold a drift. The problem is that middle ground doesn't always equal a win. Sometimes it's not powerful enough to get that forward momentum or keep itself rotated the way you would like, and for that reason it hurts itself in the points department, and sometimes can be either too much or just not enough. The Jester RR adds power to the ZR350 equation, which is just what the doctor ordered. It's got a nice tight wheelbase, it rotates on command, it's not too big, and it's why I think many people hail this as the best drift car, and it's easy to see why. You should be able to pull off perfect drifts very early in this car, unlike the ZR350. Still, all that power and spin means it takes a little bit longer to master to get that perfect drift, or to be able to make it do exactly what you want to do and collect those top points. If this is your car though, and you're seeing good results, there's nothing wrong with sticking with it. The Euros is modeled after the Drift King, and it lives up to that title. It has good power, it will hold those drifts on command, it has little difficulty getting out of any trouble, and will go wherever you ask it to on command. It feels very light and also has a small wheelbase, so fitting into small spaces isn't a problem. It does well in the hands of a consummate pro and even in rank amateurs. It's very forgiving to breaking a chain of drifts for some reason, so you have plenty of time to recover. Still, the Urus is, dare I say, not perfect. It has tiny flaws that you'll need to iron out, so it may be more difficult for those that are trying to run that perfect drift early on, so it'll take a little bit of mastering. Still, you shouldn't have any trouble nailing perfect drifts once you get the hang of it, and for most people, once they do, it's a car they continue to use over and over. When Keiichi Tsuchiya filmed the Drift Bible, he had an image of a Futo GTX in his head. This initial dedication is super small, super light, and a car that can do whatever you ask, whenever you ask it. Want to do a 180-degree spin? No problem. Want to hold a drift for 5 turns? It's got you. Fit through any space? No problem. Due to being able to hold strong angles, it simply digests points like a fish flowing through water. And even in shallow angles, it seems that the drift chain never cashes out as long as you have your pedal applied. I wouldn't doubt someone with the right ability could turn this 180 degrees, flash the high beams, and still manage to spin around without breaking the chain. So that's the list. I think it's important to note that your results may vary. You may be highly proficient with the Remus, or maybe your top car is the Jester RR. The thing is I would like you to be able to take some of these cars and give them a run for the money, and don't judge it based on the feel, but based on what you get for the points at the end of every race, especially if you can get perfect runs over and over again. That might be the car that you want to go with and try to master, and then slowly move into other vehicles. For instance, the Urus may be one of the best cars out there, but it's not one that can be quickly adapted to the second you get into racing versus something like the Jester RR or the Futo GTX. Those are cars you can get in and just run with, and you're like, wow, they always just kind of do very well in the points. And then you start realizing the more you develop your skill, the more you're going to be able to feed points out of a Futo GTX or a Urus compared to the Jester RR. The top cars, let's be honest, came in only 4,000 points apart, and that really does bring it down to user ability and user error. For a new player, I wouldn't suggest anything at the hard level, though. You'll never be able to build the points you need, and you might develop bad habits or maybe get frustrated and stop playing, which this is not a hard update. It's not a hard mode to play and to really get a good judge of it just by doing what it's supposed to do naturally and actually get some good points. And that's the point here, is to give you an opportunity to have a leg up when you go into your first competitions. So I hope you liked it. Truth is, drifting is one of the best ideas brought to GTA, and that in itself is very refreshing. So I hope everybody adopts it, goes in, buy yourself a drift car, go have fun. So pick a car, any car, and I hope to see you at the track.